What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I want to do an overall market analysis on both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 futures. We've seen some pretty volatile moves over the last week due to the CPI and PPI reports, and I think it would be a good time to go ahead and get a recap of what we've seen, what levels we need to watch out for, and what we can sort of expect coming into the next few days. I have to be honest, as of right now, I'm seeing a few different things in the market from both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, and I have been pretty undecided on what the next major move is going to be. I've been lowering my position sizes. I've been very picky on the trades that I've been taking because I really don't see anything that's 100% clear here, but there is definitely some signs of rejections of support levels that I want to go ahead and share with you in today's video. Hopefully this analysis helps you make your own judgment. I never recommend just taking everything I say to heart and trading off my opinions, but I hope that my analysis that I provide to you helps you make your own analysis and hopefully helps you make good decisions in the stock market. So after watching today's video, if you do enjoy it, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, we do this analysis every single morning in the pre-market live stream starting right here on YouTube at 8 a.m. So guys, I hope that you are watching this video before tomorrow. I think there's some pretty important levels to be focusing on as of today. We saw some signs of a rejection on the NASDAQ. We saw some signs of a rejection on the ES, but we also saw signs of support at certain levels. So there's a little bit of a mixed bag here, in my opinion, on the market. I still think people are a little bit undecided as to whether this market continues or if this is where we see a rejection. That's why I'm making this video. I'm going to share with you the analysis, what I'm looking at. As traders, we can't just come into every day saying, I like it to the downside. I don't care what happens intraday. I think it's going down. We have to be adaptive. We have to sort of watch what happens intraday. Anyways, let's go ahead and pull up the daily chart on the NASDAQ. The first thing that I want to point out is the longer term trend, and then we're going to sort of jump into the shorter term analysis because as of right now, guys, I really don't care about the longer term trend. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen over the next few weeks. I'm more interested in the short to medium term. The longer term trend is one thing that I am watching, which is from the highs of this. This is from the December highs. If we draw this trend down, we can see we potentially may have rejected that trend line today. You can see we did open above that trend line in the pre-market off of the PPI report. We started to push higher, but it seems to me as though the market, the NASDAQ, is starting to potentially show a rejection there at that longer term trend. So that is definitely something that I am watching. The next thing on the longer term trend that I am watching is this 150 SMA on the daily chart. To give you a little bit of recap on the SMAs I have on my screen, I did change them around for this video in specific. So you can see on your screen there are no moving averages below the current price action besides that 100 SMA, which is the green line. I've deleted the 20 and the 50. I am more focused here on where can a rejection come in, what moving averages do I need to focus on above the price action to make sure I don't get caught in any type of nasty pullback. So the green line is the 100 SMA. The yellow line is the 150 SMA, which is where we are trading right now today. And the red line is that 200 SMA. That is pretty influential, pretty important. We have not gotten to that level yet. Over here, back in March and April, you can see all of these SMAs came right together, and that caused that pretty nasty downside move. We are starting to see them fan out. Now, when you see a moving average fan out, like you see here, the moving averages are starting to spread apart. That means that a downtrend is getting stronger. What you can see from back in 2021, look at how evenly distributed these SMAs were on the upside. Very clean, very nice distribution between the EMAs, or the SMAs, I'm sorry. And then right here, guys, look at these crosses, and now you can see we are fanning to the downside. I'm not saying that you're going to have to make a trade off that type of information, but that at least is a pretty interesting look on those SMAs. So we have that long-term downtrend on the daily chart, and we have a 150 SMA rejection, which could be possible. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting for me. I don't really care too much about those SMAs. What I am most interested in, guys, right here is the supply rejection that we saw from late April and early May. So if I zoom in here, fresh, clean chart, nothing on it. Here is what I am looking at. I am looking at the triple top that we had at 13,550. Right here, you can see that we have had a triple top in the past. Right there, we had a triple top. We had one right here, one right here, and one right here. We had, actually, you know what? You could even call that a four top or whatever you want to call that. We have clearly rejected that level back in April and May of this year. We traded right back into it today, and you can see the daily chart rejection candle that is showing right now. So to me, this is starting to show signs of a rejection on the NASDAQ. I'm starting to see this previous rejection point from back in April and May turn into another potential rejection point. And this exact reason, which you guys will know if you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, if you're in the Discord chat, this level, this 13,550 level, has been the reason why I have been very careful on any long positions, getting too aggressive to the upside, doing anything irrational. I have been very, very cautious trading upside into this rejection area. And I think I'm doing the right thing by thinking like this. I do not want to get too aggressive with this potential rejection that you can see from back in May and April right here that is potentially looming once again here at the 13,550 level. So for me, I need to see the market above that 13,550 before I can even consider any more upside. Do we see a pullback here on the NASDAQ off of this rejection point? I think that is totally possible and something that we definitely need to be putting into our analysis here. I don't think we can rule that out. The market is definitely in a short-term uptrend. We know that. This is a short-term uptrend which has been very strong. Market reacted positively to CPI and PPI. How much do we believe that? That's up to your own opinion. I am 100% focused on the supply rejection right here at 13,550. If I don't see the market above this level, I am not getting very bullish here. I'm going to keep it as easy as that. I'm keeping it very black and white here. If we see the NASDAQ below 13,550, then I am not going to be bullish. If I see the market above 13,550, holding it as support, starting to break and retest that level, then I will get more bullish. I want to break this down to the 5-minute chart, and I just want to show you guys one thing that happened today on the NASDAQ. You are going to see that if I zoom in on the 5-minute chart, if I put this line at exactly 13,550, which is where it should be, what you saw today, intraday, if I go, actually I'm going to look at the 1 minute, this showed it a little bit better. After seeing this today, me and the group chat were pretty convicted that there could be more downside. And the reason for this is we saw the potential break of the 13,550 resistance area, and we saw the fail. Now, just because we saw it fail, that doesn't mean we are going to move lower. What is the thing that I saw that made me think, okay, I think we're going to get weak here. I think we're going to see downside today. It is right here, guys. It is the attempt back into the 13,550 and the rejection of that level. This rejection right here, intraday today, at this 13,550 level, was what made me a little bit more on the bearish side into the remainder of today as well as into tomorrow. This rejection we did not want to see for upside, that 13,550 rejection, which lines up perfectly back on the 4-hour chart, which lines up perfectly with these previous highs, this previous triple top on the 4-hour. So that's the one thing I want to point out today, guys. 13,550 for the NASDAQ, that needs to get above, the market needs to get above that level, in my opinion, to be looking for upside. If we start to trade below it, I think the downside pressure could come in. This is a very important rejection point that you need to be paying attention to. So guys, we are now on the S&P 500, the /ES, which is the S&P 500 futures, and we're going to start with that longer term analysis once again. We can draw that long-term downtrend, which is not in play on the ES as of yet, so we know that the ES is underperforming. That's the first thing I want to get out of the way. We are nowhere near the long-term downtrend on the ES. We are still trading below it. The next thing that I want to point out, which is similar to the NASDAQ, the 150 SMA, you can see the 100, the 150, and the 200 SMA. You can see today we tried to trade above the 150 and we rejected it. If I go back to the NASDAQ, just to refresh your memory, you can see the NASDAQ is trading below that 150. The ES is also looking to get rejected here at the potential 150 SMA. That is something that I am watching here closely. So guys, here is where things get a little bit different between the NASDAQ and the ES, and here is where I'm getting a little bit of a different picture between the two futures contracts, which is sort of confusing me and not giving me the whole picture, not giving me that conviction that I need to really get aggressive on a single position or a single direction. So if I look at the S&P 500 and I zoom into this chart, you can see that we just passed the mid-May to late June highs. That was the breakout that we just had. The mid-May to late June highs right here, that was the breakout. If we go to the NASDAQ, The mid-May to late June highs is all the way back down at 12,800. We passed that about a month ago. So we passed that level, actually a little bit less, about 2 to 3 weeks ago is when we broke above that mid-May to early June high. You can see that the ES is just approaching that level. So we know that there is clearly an underperformance on the S&P 500 when it compares to the NASDAQ. So we know that that's the first thing we have to pay attention to. The next level, which is that triple top on the NASDAQ, if we go back to the NASDAQ, that triple top that we are starting to reject on the NASDAQ, which is around 13,550, which was in late April, early May, that is not even close yet on the S&P 500. That level on the S&P 500 is up here at 4,300. So we clearly see the underperformance on the S&P versus the NASDAQ, knowing that this move to the upside has been mainly driven by technology stocks. Major tech names is the reason that the NASDAQ is pushing higher, of course, and we can see that outperformance on that futures contract when comparing it to the ES. So here is where things get a little bit difficult for me. If I'm looking at 4,200, which was the major breakout level from right here back in late May, we saw that breakout above 4,200. So we know that, okay, the ES is above a major resistance level. It is now still trading above it. Can this turn into support and start to push back to the upside? Is there a potential bullish break and retest of 4,200? If I break this down to the 30-minute chart, you can see that we could very well pull back to that previous high, hold it as support, maybe create some type of a flag pattern here, and start to break back to the upside off of a break and retest, right? That is a very viable option here on the S&P 500 to see that previous rejection point. If we go to the 4-hour chart, it is very possible to see this previous rejection point on the 4-hour chart actually turn into a support here on a bullish break and retest. And that is very different than what I am seeing here on the NASDAQ. I am not seeing a bullish break and retest here on the NASDAQ. I am more seeing a rejection of a previous triple top. So this is where my mind is sort of playing tricks on me. I see the NASDAQ and the tech sector pushing into a supply, pushing into a triple top, and I think that is quite bearish. And when I look at the ES, I have to make sure I understand that the ES could very well break and retest 4,200, a previous rejection point. Is that going to turn into support here? And are we going to get the push on the S&P 500 back towards 4,300, which would make the S&P 500 catch up to the NASDAQ and trade in alignment with the outperformance on the NASDAQ? A lot of things to think about, right? You have the S&P 500, which is pulling back to a previous rejection point. Will it turn into support? That is somewhat bullish to me, right? The fact that the S&P 500 is still trading above that previous rejection, that could be a support level there. If we go to the NASDAQ, I don't quite see that. Here, I see more of a triple top rejection that is coming in once again. A lot of things to think about. A lot of different views here between the two futures contracts. I don't often see a very big difference between these futures contracts, and this is one time that I am starting to see it. All in all, my opinion here and my recommendation to you guys out there is right now is not the time to be putting on major risk, not be putting on large portfolio percentage point positions. Make sure you are waiting to understand what happens next year. We just got major economic news from the PPI and CPI. We're going to get more into the future. And I think the smart person here scales down, finds intraday trades that they like, trust their system, trust their analysis, but make sure they understand that the market is in a very interesting situation. The market is at some really, really key and crucial levels, and I think it is best to wait for us to see either a break of that 13,550 for upside or see some rejection here on the overall market. It's early. We still have plenty of time to read this and take advantage of it. Do not feel like you have to be the first one in line to either a rejection or a breakout here. I promise you, if we reject here and we continue lower, there's going to be plenty of meat on the bones for us to play this to the downside. You do not need to be the first person to catch this rejection. No one quite cares if you are the first person to the rejection. There's no egotistical things going on here. You don't need to prove to your friends that you caught puts at the exact right time. I'm sure that your friends are still going to make money as well when it gets easy and when it's clear as day that it's going to reject, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it gives you some insight as to what I'm looking at here on the market. If you did enjoy today's video, press that like button, subscribe to the channel. I do this analysis every morning in my pre-market live streams. Make sure to come hang out there. And of course, if you want to trade live with me every single day, make sure to check out the link down in the description below for the Discord trading community. Have a good one, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.